Talia sat alone in her dorm room, the lights dimmed to near darkness. Her uniform jacket lay folded on the chair, insignia gleaming faintly. The academy had gone quiet since the hearing. Too quiet. No challenges. No looks. No whispers. Even Krivak's circle had vanished from the mess halls. But silence didn't mean safety. Her holotab blinked. One message. Encrypted, Earth command. She tapped to open. A line of text glowed in sharp white against the dark screen. Phase 2 cleared. Proceed to Deep Enclave. Code, Whisper Protocol. She exhaled slowly. No return instructions. No reassignment. Just a single directive, go deeper. Her door chimed. She didn't move. The chime came again. A softer one this time. Talia rose, approached silently, and opened it by an inch. Standing there was XYRN Vel, the only alien at Galaxis who'd ever bothered to say more than 5 words to her without mockery. He was tall and willowy, with a semi-transparent hide that shimmered like wet stone. His 3 eyes blinked asynchronously, a trait Talia found oddly calming. "I know what you are," he said. No greeting. No hesitation. Talia narrowed her eyes. "Then you know it's best not to talk about it." "I disagree." XYRN glanced over his shoulder, then slid into the room before she could stop him. "Because the Council knows too." Her jaw clenched. "What exactly do they think they know?" "That you are trained for something off-grid. That your reflexes, your control, your restraint, it's not natural. Not for any known species. They're scared, Talia. Not of what you did. Of what else you might do." She didn't respond. The quiet hum of the Academy's shield dome vibrated faintly beneath her feet. She'd always been good at reading rooms. Right now, she read danger. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because I saw the footage," XYRN said, stepping closer. "I slowed it down to frame by frame. I saw what others missed. Your eyes didn't move. Not once. Your body reacted before the threat finished forming. That's not just training. That's augmentation." She gave a half-smile, cold and brief. "Now you're reaching." "Am I?" XYRN lifted a clawed hand and opened a portable viewer. He flicked it, projecting a 3D model, her body, combat posture. A red pulse flickered at the base of her neck. Another near her spine. "Signal nodes," he said. "Cortical boosters. Designed to look like minor nerve implants, but they're military. Precursor tech, maybe Earth's own. Doesn't matter." The Council saw it too. Talia's expression didn't change. But her hand, resting at her side, curled slightly. "So what now?" she asked. "You going to report me?" "No. I want in." That caught her off guard. "What?" "I want to know what they made you. And why they're making more." She stared at him. No humor in his tone. No sarcasm. Just certainty. "You think this is a game?" she said sharply. "That it's cool to play with war ghosts?" "I think you're not the only one here hiding a past," XYRN replied. "And I think we're both running out of time." A pulse rocked the walls. Barely noticeable, but distinct. The shield dome fluctuated. Both looked up. "What was that?" she asked. XYRN checked his wrist pad. Unauthorized perimeter scan. Directional. Not from the Academy systems. "Someone's looking for me," she said. "No," he replied, voice suddenly tight. "They're looking for what's inside you." The Deep Enclave wasn't on the official schematics. Hidden beneath the Academy's geothermal chamber, it was a relic from the early Accord days, when peace was a theory and paranoia had budget. Talia and XYRN descended into the old tunnels using an old maintenance shaft. They moved in silence. Her hand never left the hidden holster at her hip. XYRN carried a repurposed survey scanner. He didn't ask questions. That earned Talia's trust, more than words ever could. They reached a steel door covered in dust and warning glyphs. No key slot. Just a biometric reader older than most civilizations. Talia placed her palm against it. The machine clicked, paused, then hissed open. Inside, cold lights flickered to life. Rows of empty stasis pods. Vats long since drained. Consoles darkened with age but still humming with buried power. What is this place? XYRN whispered. Phase 1, Talia said. Before the treaty. Before humans knew if peace was even possible. He walked to one of the pods. Faded initials etched into the side, UMBRA 024. How many of you were there? Talia didn't answer. A console near the far wall beeped. Talia approached. The display lit up, then a voice spoke, low, male, unmistakably human. Agent 017. Protocol whisper confirmed. Final directive uploaded. Her screen scrolled with data, locations, status updates, redacted lines. One phrase blinked repeatedly. Dormant seeds detected. Activation required. What seeds? XYRN asked, reading over her shoulder. She didn't answer. Her eyes scanned the screen, face hardening. They embedded tech into more than just me. Latent enhancements. Early cadets. Earth wasn't content with one weapon in the academy. They scattered potential, everywhere. XYRN's skin darkened. So you're not the only one. No, she said. But I'm the only one awake. Above them, alarms started to sound. They sprinted back through the tunnels. Talia moved like a shadow, even at full speed. XYRN barely kept up. He wasn't built for this. She was. As they emerged into the upper halls, the intercom blared, Code Black. All students to secure dorms. Repeat, Code Black. They passed a viewing pane. Outside, ships had formed in low orbit. Not the Council. Not official. Mercenaries. They're here for me, Talia said, breath calm. Why not just report you to the Galactic Senate? XYRN asked, confused. Because if they admit what I am, she said grimly, they admit Earth broke the peace accords. That means war. This way, they silence me, off record. She turned to him. You still want in? XYRN didn't hesitate. More than ever. She handed him a data shard. Then memorize this. We're going to wake them. Who? The others. Talia moved fast, into the hallway shadows. Behind her, sirens wailed. But ahead, beyond the chaos, something darker stirred. A silent network of forgotten weapons, disguised as children. And the galaxy was about to remember why Earth was feared. Talia moved through the Academy's lower corridors like she belonged in the shadows. Her footsteps made no sound. The emergency lights pulsed red and white, and distant alarms echoed like heartbeat warnings. The school above had sealed its dorms. Panic had gripped the upper levels. But down here, this was her world. XYRN followed, more cautiously now. How many? He asked quietly. At least 7, Talia answered. Still inside the grid. Undisturbed. And you can wake them? I can try. She didn't look at him. But there's no telling what happens when they do. They reached a recessed hatch marked Utility D. It wasn't on any current schematics. Talia keyed in an override using a simple sequence of taps, 4 on metal, 2 on the side panel, 1 under the frame. The door opened. Inside were rows of cryolockers embedded into the walls, disguised as ventilation access panels. Each bore no name, only a 3-digit number and an Earth-coded timestamp. XYRN stared at the sealed pods. This isn't a training facility. It's a vault. Talia nodded. Project Umbra's off-site failsafes. They didn't just send us to learn. They planted us to survive. She pulled a shard from her pocket, the same one she'd handed him earlier. 7 confirmed. All dormant. I'm waking 3. Why not all 7? Because we don't know who they became after the deep sleep. One mistake and we wake something worse than what's hunting us. Talia inserted the shard into the pod's side terminal. A low hum filled the air, followed by a rising tone. The panel glowed blue. Umbra 012. Status, stable. Initiating revival protocol. Steam hissed from the edges. The glass slid back. Inside lay a boy, no older than 17, body lean and still. His eyes open mid-breath. No confusion. No panic. He sat up. Name? Talia asked. Reed. His voice was raspy but firm. Status? Combat ready. Mind clear. Orders? Talia turned to him. You've been asleep for 6 years. They're here to erase us. You're activated under Whisper Protocol. Reed blinked once. Then he stood and cracked his knuckles. Anyone else up? 2 more. The second pod opened moments later. A girl with a jagged scar down her cheek rose, eyes scanning the room like she expected a fight. Ella. Recon, infiltration. Orders? Stay sharp. No moves until I give the signal. Third pod, silent. The boy inside twitched, then opened his eyes. His gaze was vacant for a second too long. Talia stepped closer. Name? Luke. She studied him. You remember Umbra? I remember fire. And screaming. Talia paused. That wasn't standard recall. Do you remember me? Luke looked at her, then nodded slowly. You're the handler. Wrong answer. She wasn't a handler. Umbra didn't have them. Not unless. Seal him, she snapped. Reed moved instantly, slamming the pod shut before Luke could rise. He's corrupted, Talia said. Scramble. Might have been tampered with mid-freeze. XYRN looked disturbed. What does that mean? It means if we'd let him out, he might have torn this place apart without knowing why. She turned to Reed and Ella. We move now. Evac through Deck 9, Tunnel Route C. We get outside the dome and scramble comms. If they can't trace us, they can't detain us. What about the rest of Umbra? Ella asked. They stay cold unless ordered otherwise. As they moved through the lower halls, an alert tone chimed through the building. A synthesized voice echoed. Unauthorized breach detected in sublevel 6. All units converge. Lethal force authorized. They're in, XYRN muttered. Merc squads. Talia grabbed a wall panel and twisted it open, revealing a vertical crawl shaft. Climb. Now. They ascended in silence. Reed took point. Talia watched their backs. The academy was no longer a sanctuary. It was a trap designed to seal. They exited into a dark service corridor running along the dome's base. Talia paused. Outside, boots struck pavement. Unmarked ships hovered low. Figures in tactical suits fanned out, 6-legged armor, dark visors, 0 insignia. One mercenary held a tracking scanner. They're triangulating the Umbra signatures, XYRN whispered. You didn't scrub your signal? I left mine on purpose, she said. They don't know the others are awake. Reed crouched by a maintenance hatch. We go now? Talia nodded. Fast and quiet. They darted across the lot, hugging shadows. XYRN moved surprisingly well for his species. Ella took rear guard, scanning with a small wrist drone. They made it halfway before the mercs noticed something, too late. Talia shouted, scatter. The moment cracked open. Lights flared. Gunfire burst from kinetic rifles. Reed flipped a crate and returned fire. Ella vanished into shadow, emerging behind one soldier with a chokehold. XYRN ducked low, dragging a stun pulse line across 2 enemy legs. Talia went straight at the commander. She dodged the opening salvo, slid under a pulse blast, and came up with her elbow driving into the enemy's throat. The helmet cracked. The man fell twitching. Her HUD chimed. Jammer deployed. Signal lost. Go, she shouted. Outside the dome, now. They breached the edge of the shield just as the dome flickered unstable from the internal chaos. On the far side, 3 scout pods waited, leftovers from a training drill Talia had sabotaged days ago, just in case. They climbed in without words. Talia's fingers danced across the controls. Before launch, she looked at the others. We're not students anymore. They declared war the moment they sent assassins. XYRN leaned in. Where do we go? To Earth, she said. The real Earth. Not the one they let the galaxy see. She paused, her voice steady. It's time the stars remembered why they feared us. The pods launched. Behind them, Galaxis burned, not from fire, but from truths that refused to stay buried. Talia's pod sliced through the void like a bullet, quiet, invisible, untraceable. Her hands rested steady on the flight controls, but her eyes stared into nothing. The stars outside blurred into streaks as the drive punched past safe parameters. She hadn't spoken since launch. Reed's voice crackled through the comm course locked. Estimated arrival, 27 hours. We should rotate rest. Can't risk it, Talia replied. They're still chasing signal heat. If we drop comm silence, even for sinking sleep cycles, they'll find us. I wasn't talking about sinking, Reed said. You haven't blinked since liftoff. Talia let a faint smile cross her lips. If I close my eyes, I'll see the boy we left in the pod. Luke. Yeah, Reed muttered. Me too. In the second pod, XYRN sat across from Ella, who cleaned dried blood off a blade with steady precision. It wasn't hers. She hadn't been touched. XYRN couldn't stop watching her hands. You knew, he said. All this time. What you were. I knew I wasn't normal, she said flatly. But they didn't give us memories. Just reflexes. We were built to be calm until we weren't. Calm, he repeated. That's what scares me. Ella looked up. You're still here. I want to understand you. You should want to run. 23 hours later, the pods drifted into orbit above a planet that looked nothing like the Earth on the interstellar feeds. No glow from city grids. No constant traffic across the stratosphere. Just deep oceans, cold green continents, and a network of satellites that hadn't transmitted a public signal in over 50 years. Where's New London? XYRN asked from his viewport. There is no New London, Talia said. There never was. That's a fabrication. She engaged manual descent. Everything they know about Earth was built for observation. The real world was pulled back. Hidden. As they broke through the atmosphere, their screens flickered with a pulse, faint, rhythmic, old. A carrier tone buried deep in static. Talia leaned closer. That's it. Reed nodded. Ghost signal. Ella raised an eyebrow. Still active? Never stopped, Talia said. Even when Umbra was declared obsolete. The pods landed in a stretch of overgrown marsh, surrounded by towering steel pylons coated in moss and solar ash. Above, broken drones dangled like skeletons caught mid-flight. No welcome team. No perimeter guards. But as they stepped onto the surface, the ground pulsed, just once, beneath their boots. They know we're here, Talia said. A slab of earth shifted 30 meters away, revealing a recessed elevator with a hexagonal shaft. Impressive, XYRN muttered. No, Ella said, watching the shadows. It's paranoid. They descended in silence, passing layer after layer of dark infrastructure. When the doors opened, they stepped into what looked like an abandoned museum. Steel walls covered in rusted insignias. Projector pods long cold. And in the center, one chair, surrounded by monitors, blinking green for the first time in decades. Umbra control, Talia whispered. She approached the central console and placed her palm against it. Agent 017 recognized. Whisper protocol confirmed. Awakening command network. Lights surged across the room. Holograms flickered into place, maps, status grids, weapon schematics, unknown threat indicators. Then, a voice spoke. Male. Familiar. Welcome home, Talia. Her breath caught. Director Ash, she asked. A remnant, not a man. This is an echo archive of the real director. But I've been waiting for your return. XYRN looked between them. You mean this base has been alive, waiting? Since the moment Earth signed the accord, the voice said. Umbra was never disbanded. It was submerged. Deep cover. You, Talia, were the first viable retrieval agent. Talia stepped back. You left us. No contact. No updates. No mission parameters. You buried us. Because war isn't always won with weapons. Sometimes, it's won with memories others fear to find. Reed growled. We're not weapons. We're people. You were trained to be both. Ella crossed her arms. Why wake us now? The room darkened. A single projection rose, Galaxis Academy. Then, it burned, pulses of red spreading from its dome. Because the Accord is dying, the voice said. And Earth is no longer playing by their rules. Talia watched as the feed shifted, images of mercenary fleets massing near fringe systems, planets collapsing into embargo, riots between species. XYRN stepped forward. This wasn't on the Council feed. They've been hiding the fractures, the voice answered. Because they know what happens if the truth gets out, Earth steps forward. And the stars remember the predators they invited into their house. Talia exhaled. So that's it. You want Umbra activated for a Cold War gone hot. I want balance restored. I want those who built empires on lies to face truth. But I need commanders. You're the only one who made it to the signal. She looked at Reed, Ella, and finally XYRN. We're not ready, she said. 3 assets, 1 alien, no fleet. You don't need a fleet. You need fear. Whisper Protocol was never meant to win wars. It was designed to remind the galaxy what war with Earth costs. Ella tilted her head. And what's the first move? The voice fell silent. Then a new map appeared. A space station in Council territory. Flagged, Operative Detention Hub. Underneath, Luke UMBRA-009, transport pending. Talia's mouth tightened. They woke him. Reed swore. They didn't just extract him, they turned him. Retrieve him, the voice said. Or put him down. You train together. You'll know if he's salvageable. The lights dimmed. Only one screen remained active, tracking a single prison ship already on the move. Talia turned to the others. This isn't about survival anymore. This is about legacy. We were buried because Earth feared itself. They called us broken. Dangerous. Unstable. She looked around the room. They weren't wrong. She turned back to the map. But now we're necessary. Ella smiled faintly. About time. Reed cracked his knuckles. I say we make them remember. XYRN said nothing. But his eyes burned with the same fire. Talia stared at the blinking Luke, her brother in training, now twisted into something unrecognizable. Her voice was calm, steady, sharp as a blade. Prep for retrieval. The stolen dropship slipped into Council space disguised as a garbage scow. Its transponder echoed a false ID, Sargos Waste 14-2, scraped from a derelict near the fringe. Talia had hard-coded the disguise herself. The only real challenge wasn't the infiltration. It was what came next. Luke's prison ship, CSV Resolution, orbited a minor moon in a dead system. No patrols. No traffic. No reason to be there unless something critical was being hidden. He wasn't being transported. He was being studied. Reed stood beside her in the cockpit, arms crossed, eyes locked on the station's shape as it rotated slowly in the viewport. "Looks dormant," he said. "But I count at least 16 internal heat signatures." Talia nodded. "Guards. Scientists. Containment systems. Should have terminated him when we had the chance," Reed muttered. "This is a mess." Talia glanced at him. "It's still our mess to fix." In the back, Ella checked her weapon loadouts. XYRN ran final diagnostics on the dampening field generators. They had to move without triggering any internal alarms. Once detected, extraction became impossible. Or worse, public. Ella looked up. "What if he's too far gone?" Talia answered without turning. "Then I end it." The infiltration went smoothly, at first. They entered through an access shaft leading to the lower maintenance ring. Security was automated, predictable. Talia used a modified Umbra spike to blind the sensors for 90 seconds at a time. That was all they needed. Moving like ghosts, they passed decompression seals, down corridors, and a forgotten cafeteria that still smelled faintly of synthetic protein. Then they reached the primary vault. It wasn't a cell. It was a lab. Thick walls. Isolation chamber. Medical equipment fused with neural webbing. And Luke, standing inside, not strapped down, not sedated. Just, watching the door. He smiled as they entered. "Talia." His voice was smooth. Too smooth. No effort, no hesitation. Something artificial coiled beneath every word. "Luke," she said carefully. "I knew you'd come." Ella raised her weapon. Talia gestured for her to lower it, just slightly. Luke stepped closer to the reinforced glass. "They told me I was broken. That Umbra corrupted my core. But they were wrong. You were the ones broken. You clung to control. I let go." Reed stepped forward, disgust in his tone. "You snapped." "No," Luke replied. "I saw. You don't understand what we are. We weren't made to blend. We were made to evolve." XYRN moved toward the console. "He's interfaced with the AI. Deep sync." Talia's expression hardened. "Is it stable?" "No," XYRN said. "It's feeding on him. The AI is building itself around his mind." "I'm not being used," Luke said. "I am the new code." Talia stepped closer. "Luke. Listen to me. You're still Umbra. We can help. You're not alone." He laughed. "You still don't get it. You're late. I've already seeded the next version. The signal went out 2 hours ago." Talia froze. "What signal?" "Not to Earth," Luke said, smile widening. "To the fringes. To the ones watching. The species we thought we could scare into submission. They're coming. Not because of Umbra. But because they think I'm the next evolution of Earth's weapons." He tapped the glass gently. "They'll burn everything to stop me. And they'll never believe you didn't make me this way." Alarms shrieked. XYRN's hands flew across the console. "We're breached." Something picked up the heat jump. "Go," Talia ordered. "Back to the ship. Prep lift." "What about you?" Ella asked. "I finished this." The chamber sealed behind them. Talia stepped inside as the containment doors hissed shut. Luke tilted his head. "You always were the last to break." She circled him slowly. "Because I was the only one they didn't train to kill. They trained me to choose." He lunged. Fast. Talia dropped low, swept his legs, and rolled clear as he crashed into the wall. He was stronger. Faster. But he was too confident. She darted behind a lab pillar, yanked a plasma filament from a power relay, and coiled it around her arm. Luke charged again. She ducked and wrapped the filament across his chest. It burned into his skin, no blood. The synthetic layer under his skin hissed, bubbling up like boiled metal. He screamed. But it wasn't pain, it was rage. "You still think you're different," he roared. "But we're the same." Talia pulled the cord tighter. "Then you'll understand why I have to stop you." He slammed her against the wall. Her ribs cracked. She didn't scream. She slammed her elbow into his neck, then kneed him twice, once in the gut, once in the side. He staggered. "Earth abandoned us," he gasped. "They made us monsters, then buried us." She stepped closer. "No," she whispered. "They made us choices. You just made the wrong one." She shoved the cord into his chest. It pierced the subdermal layer and lit up like a flare. His body went rigid, then crumpled. Still. Silent. She dropped to her knees beside him. Checked for breath. None. Talia exhaled, slowly, like releasing years of weight. Back on the ship, silence reigned as she boarded. Her side was bloodied. Her steps slow. Reed stood by the hatch, but didn't speak. XYRN broke the quiet. "Is he?" "Gone," Talia said. "He chose wrong." Ella looked at her. "And what now?" Talia slumped into a seat, staring at her own blood-soaked gloves. "We go dark," she said. "We let the galaxy think he got away. Let them chase shadows. Hunt ghosts." Whisper protocol wasn't about confrontation. It was about consequence. XYRN looked at her, voice quiet. "So we vanish?" She shook her head. "We become myth." The ship vanished into the stars, leaving behind only a broken lab and a question that would haunt every species watching. What else had Earth buried, and how many were still out there?